Hey, good morning, fellow YouTubers. I did one of my favorite old tricks. I got a cup of coffee and grocery shopping yesterday. I got some chocolate milk. Oh man, there's nothing like real chocolate milk from the grocery store. Takes me right back to childhood. But so I drink half the cup of coffee and then fill it with chocolate milk and then just throw it in the microwave for a good 40-50 seconds, and you got good like a macchiato or a mocha, cafe mocha, something like that. But anyways, just want to talk about the first person that comes to mind is Rat Trap, to have PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. But seems really prevalent. And it's something that when I was a kid, I think it was only really applied to military service. But now more times you hear about it, it has nothing to do with military service. Something that morphed, shell shock, morphed into the term PTSD. Because back like World War II, they didn't even, I think, use PTSD. They called it shell shock. But one thing I've seemed to notice in positive correlation between the rise in discussion of personality traits of narcissistic personality disorder and the rise of PTSD. So, with the positive correlation, they could be affecting each other, or it could be extraneous, meaning yes, they're both going up, but it's not really related to each other. Oh, I just noticed a huge spider right here. I get black widows, like right here on my back porch, even all around this light right here, porch light, and I'll get them up front on the front porch. So I gotta be careful. This looks like a black widow body shape. Oh yeah, it's a black widow, but it's not black. It's like mainly tan, but it's got the big old hourglass. Man, I hate being around spiders that can kill you. But so I guess the question is, do you feel you've suffered abuse? Because there's all different types of harsh treatment, but what really relegates it or negates it to qualify as abuse? For instance, I went to this Catholic elementary school that was like a throwback to the 50s. These nuns, the only part of skin that showed was like their habit went right down to their eyebrows, right down to like the bottom of their chin, and right back up to the top of the eyebrows. And they're literally they're like what they would wear every day would go down to like their knuckles. So basically you had like maybe 4 square inches of their face showing and like their fingers. I mean, I've never seen any nuns wear such traditional old garb as the nuns at this Catholic elementary school I went to called Good Shepherd. And they were real traditionalists. And to this day, I consider myself a traditionalist in Catholicism because of them. But they really had a love for the old rite, the old way before Vatican II and before the rules were all changed. But I mean, they were into corporal punishment. Even one of the lay persons, the math teacher, I forget her name, but she was an elderly Caucasian lady that was a lay person, was not a nun. And for instance, every time we would go out the front door to walk to Mass, we'd go to Mass at least once a month on the first Friday of the month. And she would just stand at the doorway and get her thumb like this and just clip in the rib cage every third person, as long as it was a male. So I mean, I'm not exactly 100% sure it was every third person, but it seemed that way. And if you were the third person and you were a female, she would hold it and wait for the next male. So and then she'd give you a good shot in the ribs if you weren't paying attention. So what I would do is I'd make sure I'd get at least 2 females in front of me, so that she would so that I would knew that it was coming my way. And then just for the fun of it, because she'd stand right at the doorway, so you'd have to be close to her so she could poke you in the ribs. So I'd try to like juke her, fake her out, and then when I jumped past her, I'd go like this, like a picador, you know, in bullfighting. And so that, you know, it could be something for everyone to laugh at, and for me to try to show that I could out juke her and get away without getting jabbed in the ribs. I mean, because if I was sent to the nun and, you know, she would say, okay, what'd you do wrong? And I'd say, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, then why are you being sent here? Well, she was gonna shove her thumb in my rib cage like she does to every male coming out of that doorway, and I tried to avoid it. You know, and it's like, well, why was she trying to poke you in the ribs? No reason, she just does that as we're leaving the classroom. And I don't like physical pain, so I try to avoid it. I mean, it's not like I could get in trouble for trying to avoid physical pain that's being delivered for absolutely no reason. But that's not abuse, because that was given all of us. You know, they had very strict rules, and if you disobeyed those rules, you could get the rulers on the knuckles, you could get hair. They'd come up and grab like 3 or 4 strands of hair and just yank them out of your head. So they'd literally sneak up behind you if you were leaning on the back legs of your chair or if you were talking. So they'd stand in the back of the class a lot and just wait for someone to break the rules, and then come up and rip hair out of their head. And wouldn't grab 1 strand or 2 strands, they'd go for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so that it really hurt. And you'd actually maybe have blood coming out. Poor Robbie Sasson. This teacher would come up and sneak up behind him and grab the bottom of his earlobe, the top of his earlobe, and then get the mouth right up to it and go, "Stop talking!" as loud as she could. Now, Robbie Sasson, he got abused all day, every day. So, you know, he got labeled the black sheep, basically, of the classroom, and he should have been kicked out of the school. They shouldn't have just kept doing that to him every year, year in, year out. He'd get physically abused on average like 3 times a day. And if someone threw something at the chalkboard while the nun or the teacher was writing and they couldn't find out who it was, they'd just punish poor little Robbie Sasson. Now, granted, he probably was the one that threw it, but they didn't know that for sure. So, you know, anyways. But, you know, if there's some kind of gaslighting that can cause cognitive dissonance, and this goes on over years and years and years, it can cause post-traumatic stress syndrome, which can cause, you know, problems concentrating at work, problems sleeping. So, you know, I'm interested to see, you know, if anyone feels they have suffered abuse, because that's not abuse, what I went through in my Catholic elementary school. And because we were all in it together, I found it fun, and we were able to get male bonding and camaraderie out of it. Because when you have to run laps together and you have to write penance, you know, write the Bill of Rights, you know, 100 times or something, you're up all night, you know, it just builds camaraderie. Anytime you go through, I mean, look at the strongest friendships and relationships ever made are those in war. Why? Because they went through extreme adversity together, and they were in foxholes together, supporting each other. You know, when one man got wounded, the other one carried him out of the battle zone. You know, so a lot of good came out of that adversity in the elementary school. And I like to think that they were teaching us how to stay loyal to your cohorts during adversity. You don't give in to the authority, even though that's what they wanted. They inadvertently, I think they were aware, they were teaching us to stay loyal to each other when the powers that be are trying to rally you. All you got is your unit. You stay tight to that unit and you stay loyal to that unit, and you can get through anything together. You let the powers that be splinter you off and fraction you, divide and conquer, right? So anyways, just interested to see if, anyone that might be suffering from PTSD or feels that, because another element of abuse is you get a stamp put on you. If you've dealt with abuse enough, the bullies out there and the people that like to go after others, they can smell it on you. And they can, because you become a people pleaser and you go out of your way to, help others and to listen to others and be sympathetic, and that's the red flag. That, people that like to torment others and like to cause physical, emotional distress and pain in others, to watch them squirm and to get joy out of that, that's the target, as being one of those people. But it's kind of nice being one of those people, right? So you got to be careful on who you show that nice, supportive side to, people pleasing and wanting to help others. But so if you got that stamp on you, you got a scent that narcissists and bullies and tormentors smell and come for. So that's good to be aware of. Anyways, let me know if you feel you've ever suffered any abuse and how it might affect you and how you're coping with it. Because I'm still kind of learning and walking down this path and looking at the black widows along the way. I mean, right now I'm scared because I see this one movie and I feel like there's probably one behind me. But anyway, so I'm gonna get up now and say goodbye. Make sure there's no black widows about to climb up my back. Leave a good comment. Hit like or dislike. Adios.